Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Mark Kelly, who is a member of the Focolare movement, sponsoring a health symposium. Welcome to the program, Mark.
Good to be here, Mirella.
Can you tell us what is this health symposium, first of all?
Well, it's subtitled The Spirituality of Unity in Chronic Diseases and Disability. So that gives a bit of an idea of what the theme is that we'll be discussing. It's happening on Sunday the 10th of July from 1 p.m. at St Paul's Missionary Centre in Nortons Lane, Wantirna. Okay. And we'll be discussing a lot of issues to do with health, and in particular how to respond within the health system in the face of patients who are suffering chronic pain.
Okay. And how did this symposium come about? Why was it organised?
In January this year, there was about 500, 600 of us gathered for a holiday together on Phillip Island, and amongst our group there were a lot of people from the health professions, doctors and nurses, and also a lot of people who were patients or clients of the health system. And they had some discussions together about how they tried to live what they wanted to see as the way of bringing forward people's health and improving people's health in a way that really put the person at the centre of the treatment. And the patients also wanted to share their experience of sort of feeling maybe a bit like how the health system will often leave them feeling like they're a part of a machine and that they're seen as a disease rather than a person.
Or just a number, yeah.
And so they shared on a number of these points, and from that it was really felt, there's a real opportunity here to dialogue in more depth on this topic. And so we've organised this symposium. We've brought in some international guests or some special guests. Beautiful. And organised a program to really look at exploring some of these aspects of how to improve the way that we operate our health system and how we can respond to people who are suffering. Beautiful.
And you're a member of the Focolare movement. Can you tell us what is the Focolare movement?
Okay, it's a spirituality that came out of the experience of the devastation of the Second World War, and the objective of the movement is really to build unity, to make the world one. So and that's reflected in a number of walks of life, a number of fields of human endeavour, such as art, politics, media, and in particular health is the one we're focusing on this Saturday.
Beautiful. And this cube of health, is this what it's called? Could you tell us about this cube?
The health cube.
The health cube.
Yes. I guess it's a way of helping us focus on, there's a little technique, I guess, the problems that we face in our workplace can be very daunting. How do you try and deal with so many things at once? Well, sometimes having a little theme or a mantra to focus on that day can help a lot. So one of the ideas we have is, okay, well, let's make a dice or a cube and write a little mantra on each side or each face of the cube, roll the cube and focus on that this day. For this day. So for example there, care for everyone. And
each other.
And each other, indeed. Having that thought in the back of our mind as we go through our day can actually help us, when a problem arises, to live that or try and put that little mantra, that little saying into practice. And in the symposium we're going to actually have people sharing how living one of those aspects has had a real impact on their relationships with their patients, or if they're patients with their doctors and so forth. So yeah, that's we'll have some really uplifting experiences.
So you're going to so you just roll the dice, and then say, for example, if a nurse is at work or a doctor, and he'll roll the dice, or she, and read it. It says, care for everyone and each other. Okay, this is the thought I live for today at my work. That's
Absolutely.
lovely. And then they share experiences with how they tried to live that at work. Oh, what a beautiful thought. It's a lovely idea. And after each break, we'll turn the dice, so we'll read another one.
So,
But
for example,
we'll
one of the we've got there, care for everyone and each other. Rima and Assad are health professionals from Perth, and they work in the disability field, and one of them is actually living with MS. So they're going to share a little bit about how caring for everyone in the disability services that they provide, how that's impacted and improved their enjoyment of their work and the effectiveness of their work, and how the patients that they deal with have been able to respond to receiving their services.
Oh, that's beautiful. And they are both in the Focolare movement as well?
Yes.
It's beautiful. And so they try and bring this idea of care for everyone through their work and share. And is that their one, Care for Everyone?
That's their one, yes.
Okay, so they'll be giving, at this symposium, health symposium, they'll be sharing their experience of how they live this at work.
Absolutely.
Okay, and what are some of the others talks that will be there?
Well, for example, another one is love your enemy. I mean, workplaces can be places of conflict. We all know that, whether it's the health field. But I guess what a lot of people in the health field feel is, particularly where there's a lot of budgetary pressures, a lot of time pressures, people often, health professionals often work long hours. And there's a lot of stress because people who are the clients, the patients, are facing uncertainty. They may be new to the system. They're suffering, obviously. So people can become short with each other. Relationships can become frayed.
Yes.
And so the two of Anne and Robert who are from New Zealand, and New Zealand will be participating in this link up. So we're actually, it's going to be held in Wantirna. We're actually going to be linked via a video feed to Perth and Canberra and Sydney, Adelaide, Queensland, and also to a number of towns and cities in New Zealand.
Wow, that's wonderful. So it's reaching the whole, pretty much nearly the whole of Australia and New Zealand.
So hearing from Anne and Robert, who Anne actually works as a Maori midwife, and so she's going to share some of her experience in that area. Oh,
beautiful. All right, well, we're about to go to a break now, but we'll talk a little bit further when we get back.
Thanks, Mel.
You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
My name is Shaver Hands, and I come to you, the people of Australia, with a message of hope. This is important. Come closer. 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 Oh, not that close! We can conquer every blood cancer. All you need to do is sign up now. Help shave the world from blood cancer! Sign up now.
The tax office can take money directly out of people's accounts, but you're not allowed to know. The elderly are being abused and neglected in nursing homes, but you're not allowed to know. The government can raid journalists for reporting the truth if it says you're not allowed to know. It couldn't happen in Australia. It's happening now. When the government hides the truth from you, what are they covering up? Authorised by Australia's Right to Know, Sydney.
This season, we need your help to control Queensland fruit fly in our region. Your infested fruit is destroying your neighbour's harvest and the livelihood of our orchardists and their families. Pick up and dispose of fallen fruit. Infected fruit in your backyard is a breeding ground for fruit fly. Monitor fruit fly numbers by hanging traps in your fruit trees. Traps can be purchased at your local hardware stores. Net your fruit trees and susceptible vegetables with fruit fly specific netting. Contact us for information.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Mark Kelly, who is a member of the Focolari movement, which is sponsoring a health symposium. Welcome to the program, Mark. And this health symposium again is on when?
Sunday the 10th of July.
10th of July in Wantirna at St Paul's Missionary College.
In Nortons Lane, Wantirna.
In Nortons Lane, Wantirna. Wonderful. Now, before we were talking about the health cube, we'll go back to that as well, but are there some more keynote speakers at this health symposium?
Yes, Mel. In fact, we're very lucky to have two very distinguished speakers. One is Brendan Purcell, who is the adjunct professor in philosophy at Notre Dame University in Sydney. Brendan's also a Roman Catholic priest and an author of many books. And his latest book, which is about to be published, in fact, it's at the printers in Ireland at this very moment. Father Brendan is an Irish and has the gift of the gab, kiss the Blarney Stone. But his latest book is Where is God in Suffering?
Oh,
and that'll be the focus of his presentation at the symposium.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be well received. That's a beautiful topic, yeah.
And we also have someone visiting especially for the symposium from Italy. He's Dr. Teodoro Marotta, and he's a cardiovascular physician with an expert in particularly in hypertension. He's also a member of a group called the Medicine Dialogue Communion, which is a group that looks to institutionalise, if you like, this spirit of unity that we were speaking of before the break into health institutions. In other words, what mechanisms do we put in place to make sure that the institution as a whole is focused on the patient and not the disease, treating the whole of the person and not just the disease.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So to treat the patient like a real human being and not just talk about them. And they've made films about that too, haven't they, on TV and in the cinemas, about not treating the person as a patient, as a real person, and just sort of talk about them as if they're not there. But this is really beautiful, getting to the core of our humanity. It could be that person, that doctor in the bed next week. Who knows? You know.
In fact, one of the people who will be at the symposium is a practicing psychiatrist, and he's said this has really revolutionised his practice, where he, often dealing with people with chronic mental illness, they spend time with him and they say, "Oh, doctor, this is the first time I feel someone's actually listened to me in many, many years," and that's helped a lot in their recovery. Yeah,
but see, that's a very important aspect as well, to really listen to each other. And that's something that is really needed in the workforce, isn't it? Something very new.
Yeah, not just in the health place, but I'd say in all workplaces, and families and all of that.
In everywhere. And I think when people come across people who really listen to them, sometimes it's hard for them to stop talking because someone's actually really listening to them for a change. So tell us, what will the speakers be talking about for this one? So be the first to care.
So, yes, so that's one of these other little mantras or aspects that we try and live. And Rob and Chris, who are a couple from Melbourne, and they've been through an experience of living with a child with mental illness, and that's over many years, and it's sort of something that's ebbed and flowed, and there's been times of quite severe crisis where they've had to have a lot of interactions with the health system, and they're going to share a little bit about how they've tried to live that, and to both get what's best for the health of their child, but also to build relationships with the people who are providing the treatment for their child too.
So how they've tried to build unity with the people providing the treatment for their child, so they also, which is in everyone's best interest.
Yeah, but it can be stressful in a situation where there is a crisis going on. You can tend to forget about relationships and just concentrate on the problem that you have at that very moment. Yeah,
exactly. So it would be really good advice, I'm sure, for many people who are in that situation. And what are some of the other
Another one is
speakers?
share the other's hurt or joy. And this is going to focus on, we're going to hear from a lady who's suffers from profound deafness. So that's a hurt that she's had. And she's going to focus on talking about her relationship with her mother in that, and how they've really worked over the years that so that the mother can come to terms with her daughter's deafness, and how the daughter has learned to accept and not be blocked by her deafness from, trying to go out to other people.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm sure there'll be lots of people that can relate to that as well. Not necessarily if they're deaf, but if they're going through some kind of illness or injury or something in the family. And yes,
that was something that when we had these discussions at our holiday, that a number of the patients said, I feel like it can often feel like I'm not valued, but I feel like I've got a contribution to make. And if you health professionals listen to me, maybe you can learn something from me as well.
Exactly, and that'll help them with the
I'm
next
living
patient.
with this disease or this disability. Listen to how it impacts on my life, and maybe you can learn a more effective way of treating it.
Beautiful. I think this is lovely. It's opening up a whole new door.
You'll have to come along, Rella.
Yeah, I'll have to. Sounds wonderful. And is there a payment involved in coming along? Not that I'm worried about just asking for that reason, but because people will want to come and they'll want to know if they have to pay to come along, and
yeah, so we're not a
much.
professional organisation, so we're not paying any organisers, but we do have some costs to cover. So we're asking people to make a donation if they can, and we're also going to have some very nice freshly made quince paste and apricot jam for sale. So that's just a way of raising, helping cover our costs.
Yeah, because it's a non-for-profit organisation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it'll be in everyone's best interest. I mean, it can just be a gold coin donation even, can't it? That's lovely. And what's the next one of the other ones on the queue?
One of the other aspects is let go and be ready to listen.
Oh, that was what we were talking about before. Let go and be ready to listen. Yeah,
and talking
beautiful.
to that point will be a couple, and they're both doctors. One's a paediatrician, the other's an oncologist. And they're going to share that, how trying to live that both in their home life, when they're both very busy, on call a lot of the time, etc., and with their patients, how they manage to do that.
Gee, that'll be so interesting to hear. We have to go to a break now. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products, from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetarth.org.
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes. It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987.
Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos, it was used everywhere.
So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others.
Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage. Because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
I was born with shaver hands, and you were born with a cranium. that never stops sprouting hair. It's time that we join forces. Sign up now.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Mark Kelly, who is a member of the Focolari movement, which is sponsoring a health symposium, which is on at Wantirna on the 10th of July, Sunday. Welcome to the program. Welcome back here.
Thanks, Mirella.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about what other aspects will be at this symposium?
So as well as the keynote speakers talking about the spirituality of unity and suffering, as well as chronic suffering, there'll be a number of sort of artistic interludes, some musical numbers, some poetry. Some artists will be presenting some paintings that they've done inspired by this idea of health. And
beautiful. And there'll be some music and some songs performed as well. Wow, and paintings shown.
Yep.
So it's quite an artistic thing as well.
And there'll also be an opportunity for audience members to participate in a dialogue. So we've got a group of health professionals. We've got a hospital administrator, a general practitioner, a psychiatrist, a number of nurses and an osteopath who'll be leading like group discussions. So if there's things that have arisen during the day that people are interested in, there'll be an opportunity to discuss further those aspects.
Wow, that's so good. So at the end of the day, after they've got all the information, if they want to approach some of these people, they can talk to them.
That's part of the program at the end of the day, to have this sort of dialogue. Yeah.
That's beautiful, to keep the unity going, to actually put it into practice. Wonderful. And back to this health cube, can you tell us who else will be talking about some of these aspects on the health cube?
Yes, I think we've covered 5 of the 6 sides so far. So we'll also have someone present an experience about care for each other.
Care for each other.
And that experience will be about navigating a loved one who's coming down with Alzheimer's disease through the health system. How to try and fit the person into the nursing home where they are, so that their behaviour can be influenced, so that the lives of the others at the nursing home is still sustainable, and deal with relationships with the runners of the nursing home, the people who operate the nursing home, as well as the care for the relative, the best interests, operating for the best interests of the person herself who's suffering with Alzheimer's.
And the person with Alzheimer's, will they be talking as well?
No, but someone, the carer will be.
Oh, the person that's caring for them. Okay. And so love your enemy. Have you got anyone talking about that?
Did we already do that one? Oh, that's the one. The Maori midwife will be talking about that aspect.
We must have just we only touched on that one. And so that one's from New Zealand.
Yes.
Okay. And that's just one person talking on that one?
And be joined by someone else, I believe.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, lovely.
I'm going to be surprised by some of these myself.
Yeah. Well, these are all really wonderful topics to hear about. Like, people will be talking about this from their own experience, living all these things in the workforce, in the health industry. They're all wonderful things people can get something from. And what are the audience that you're targeting?
Well, anyone who's interested in the world of health. I guess particularly people who perhaps work in that area, but also people who, maybe because of their interactions through their own health or predicaments or situations, might want to hear a bit more about how do we, in the context of the health industry, try and build a better world.
Right. And what do you think people can gain from coming to this and watching it and being a part of it?
As we said, we want to build a better world. I guess suffering is something that it's very topical at the moment. I mean, here in Victoria, we're looking at changing the legislation about end-of-life choices. Often people don't see any value in suffering. This is a way, perhaps, of saying, well, okay, maybe there are ways of dealing with suffering that are positive, that may leave you feeling a little bit empowered.
That's right, because I remember when I had my accident and I was in hospital, and I felt very much alive, although my family couldn't see that because I was probably I don't know, knocked out with the medication they had me or something, I don't know. But I could hear them bringing the priest in to give me my last rites. And I was so alive inside, but I couldn't get it out. And I'm laughing of my head off inside and thinking, what? If I could only express myself, if I could have the energy to express myself, I would tell them there's no way I'm going to die, you know. I feel very much alive. So when I hear about euthanasia, I think there might be people that are so alive like I was and they switch the buttons off or whatever they do. Gosh, it's terrible. So yeah, that'll be really good to hear about that.
So yeah, it's health professionals who really see the value and the dignity of each life, of each patient that they deal with.
Beautiful. I think this will be really beautiful, really enriching. Let's tell our audience again where it is, what time it starts, how much is there a payment involved?
Yes, so it's Sunday the 10th of July, commencing from 1 p.m, and it'll be held at the St Paul's Missionary College, Norton's Lane, Wantirna South. So that's at the very bottom of Norton's Lane. And
to the right?
Yep. And it'll also be broadcast on the internet. So
later on, or live?
Live, and that's where we'll have participation from other centres around Australia that we mentioned, and New Zealand as well.
Oh, beautiful. And while they're at the Health Symposium in Wantirna, they can see them on a screen, the others from Perth and New Zealand and everyone who's...
There'll be some times of interaction too with the live sites, yes.
Lovely. And so it starts at 1 o'clock and finishes at what time?
Around 4 p.m.
Around 4 p.m. And is there anything they need to bring along? Do they bring their own lunch along there?
Bring an open mind.
Bring an open mind, yes, good advice. And a gold coin donation or a donation.
Any donation will be appreciated, yeah.
Okay.
We've flown someone out from Italy just for the day,
for
for
example.
example.
So maybe a bit more than a gold coin.
Lots of gold coins.
There's quite a lot of expenses involved.
We'll buy some of our special quince paste and apricot jam.
Oh, lovely. Also, so what I'd like to know as well is, how did you get involved in the Focolare movement, and what is the Focolare movement to you? What does it mean to you?
I guess for me, Morella, it was when I had the opportunity to go and live in a small town in Italy where they try to live this spirituality of making real a united world. And I'd lived in a place where, in the household I was in, there was like 10 of us from 8 different countries. And we learned to really see that having a world that is united is possible. And when you look around at all the problems in the world today, I feel it's something the world really needs.
Exactly. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program, Mark. And we hope to be at this health symposium. It sounds
look forward to seeing you there, Morella.
Yeah, I look forward to being there. Well, you've been watching NAT Chat. I hope you enjoyed the program, and we'll see you again soon.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
multi-faith and interfaith is all part of harmony in diversity. Every Monday night at 9. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to our program. I'm Takis Manetas. Today I have Father Themis Adamopoulos, who is an archimandrite with the Greek Orthodox Church and with a mission in West Africa. He has a very interesting story to tell us. Father Themi,
thank
welcome.
you for inviting me here, Taki. Pleasure is mine.
Yes, it's good for us to know who you are,
yes, sir,
and about your background,
yes, sir,
in your childhood. How did you grow up, and where were you born, and so on?
Sure. Well, I am a product of the immigration movement that Australia was experiencing in the 50s and 60s. And we came to Australia as I was a very young boy, but we were Greeks from Egypt, not from Greece, but from Egypt, which is slightly different. Yes. There are some differences between the two. And we were not economic immigrants, as many were from the Mediterranean. We were actually political immigrants, in the sense that we were running away, or not running away so much as avoiding the Egyptian rise of nationalism.
Which year was that?
In the late 50s. So what was happening is, up to a certain time, Egypt was under King Farouk.
Yes. And
it was open for Europeans. Egypt did not have any discrimination against Europeans. Indeed, they were very welcome, because particularly the Greeks had a population of 300,000 in Alexandria. Yes. And they had created modern Alexandria, the architecture, the shops, the culture, the patriarchate of Alexandria. It was full of Greekness. Mm-hmm. Even the famous poet that was from Alexandria, Gavafis. Mm-hmm. What happened when I was a child was the rise of Arab nationalism, the beginning of what we see today, where the Arab consciousness began to rise, the Islamic consciousness began to rise, and we felt as Europeans that it was becoming difficult for us, and we could see the writing on the wall. At least my parents could see the writing on the wall, and while Greeks were tolerated, they could see that at some point even the Greeks would be a target for this new Arab nationalism. So they wrote to two embassies, one the Australian embassy in Cairo for immigration to Australia, and to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, of all places. I had an auntie in Rio de Janeiro and an auntie in Melbourne, right, from Egypt. Yes. They had left some time before. So my father wrote to the both embassies in Cairo. The Australian High Commission, or the Australian Embassy, responded within 3 weeks, affirmatively, whereas the Brazilian Embassy seemed to be under some kind of waiting period, or too much siesta or something, I don't know what. They didn't respond until sometime much later than the Australian Embassy. So my father concluded that the Australian government is more efficient than the Brazilian government, on the basis of their immediate response. Yes. So they said, we're going to Australia. Yes. It seems to be a more organized country. Yes. And so we arrived here as trying to get away from the political turmoil that was beginning to erupt in Egypt, you see. And so we began a brand new life in Australia, and it's interesting that while in Egypt we had a very comfortable life, very comfortable, you know, nice houses, nice, everything was, we had people working for us and so forth. When we arrived here, we actually went down economically.
You've lost the servants.
We lost many things. We lost the marble floors
and everything.
Yes. So we were not economic migrants, you see. My father was a chemist, my mother was a teacher and so forth. So what happened was that we went to St. Albans. Now, at that time in Melbourne, St. Albans was a very, there were hardly any made roads. It was all mud.
That's right, yes.
Absolute mud. And my parents were the most depressed people in the world for the first 6 or 7 months. And my mother would cry every day.
Can I ask you, were you allowed to take any money out? Or
my parents did manage to get some money out.
Because most of those who left Egypt, they left behind everything.
Oh, well, you live behind most of the things, but you could take money.
You could take money.
So they brought money, and that helped a lot. You know, that helped a lot, right? So we were not beggars, you know. But still, the problem, the challenge that my mother and father faced was the recognition of their education here. For my mother to be a teacher, she had to be recognized here. My father to be a chemist, he had to be recognized with an Australian degree or an Australian equivalent. So for the first 6 or 7 months before they were able to be recognized, my mother worked in a factory. Rosella Jam Factory in Richmond. And she would cry every day. This was
Church Street.
She was a madame.
Oh, yes.
She was Madame Hélène, you know, teaching. She had her own school in Alexandria, teaching French. You understand? And so from being a French teacher...
Did she ever think to go back?
She would cry every day. I would come back from school and my mother was in tears. Because of the condition of her new status as a factory worker. The same thing with my father. My father worked at Fisherman's Bend in Port Melbourne as a labourer. So you can see, I was watching my parents from where they were in Egypt, you know, with their social...
How old were you when you came?
I was 7, 8, 7
or 8. So you remember very well then.
I remember Alexandria very well. I remember everything. And, but... I quickly adapted, to be honest. I quickly adapted and even started playing Australian football.
Oh, that's
even though I thought it was very strange in the beginning. It looked like a watermelon. You know, I thought, what is this? A piponi, you know, in Greek.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll go to a break and we'll come back. Very interesting.
Yes, sir.
Friends, we're going to a break and we'll come back. Stay with us.
Locals here made the shocking discovery this morning. Police have sealed off the entire beach. There is a killer. One of the worst killers in Australia. Skin cancer. Every year, skin cancer kills over 1,700 Australians. Don't be a victim. This summer, protect yourself against skin cancer.
Behind every great athlete, there is a great support network. Australian Athletes with a Disability and Wheelchair Sports Australia help athletes realise their full potential.
Gonna go from 3, yes!
No matter their ability, we're there to support them. Sporting opportunities for all abilities. For more information, visit sports.org.au.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week. Time's up.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
It's shave time.
Welcome back. I'm talking to Father Themis Adamopoulos, who has a very interesting story. Now, you were telling me that you came here and you were pretty okay, but your parents were depressed to get on in the new life, and you started playing even football.
I started playing football, and I went to St. Albans Primary School. I was wearing very strange clothes. I was wearing clothes that, you know, we would wear in Alexandria, you know. A little bit like Lord Fauntleroy. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's like you wear your trousers up to your knees, and then you have long socks, and you have a cap and so forth. Anyway, I looked a little bit odd. I looked like some kind of a reject from the British aristocracy who had found his way to St. Albans. It just was completely...
What about your English?
It was okay because I had studied English in Alexandria.
In Alexandria. Most of the Greeks there, they were speaking 4 and 5 and 6 languages.
Correct. They did. My parents spoke French at home rather than Greek. Imagine, yes. I still speak French, and that helps me in the mission. It helps me a lot.
Good.
Anyway, so I adapted very quickly to the Australian way of life. My parents did not. They found a struggle in the beginning. Eventually, imagine I would come home from school, my mother was crying. Every day, crying. Okay, for 6-7 months, non-stop, right? Every day crying. But what happened was she was accepted at the University of Melbourne, and somehow they saw that she spoke perfect French, right? Yes. So she told them she was a principal in Alexandria, and so the professor at the time, Professor Jackson, he gave her a chance to do some work, and eventually she was recognized. And so from being a factory worker at Rosella in Richmond, she became a teacher at Presbyterian Ladies College. So she was back in her element. She was back again to the woman that she was back in Alexandria. And my father, from being, you know, not recognized as an industrial chemist, eventually he too was recognized, and he started working for Monsanto Chemicals. And so he was also back again to his element. You understand? So they were okay now. My parents were okay. They were earning fairly good salaries, and we bought a house and so forth, and we were living in Williamstown. So everything became normal. I went then to Williamstown High School, and I adopted completely the Australian way of life. In some ways, I was not interested in the Greek Orthodox Church. The Greek Orthodox Church, when I was a teenager, was only for immigrants. It was not for me. I had now become anglicized. I had now become an Australian, and that church was for the immigrants. You know.
You mean that the Australians at the time did not care about God?
There was some faith, but I went to a government school, and it was completely secular. There was no talk of God. There was no talk about Jesus or the gospel.
No religious instructions at the time?
Nothing. And that was fine with me. I didn't care because I was not a believer.
What about your parents?
My parents were believers, but again, because of the nature of their work, they would go to church on holy days, Easter, Christmas, the Virgin Mary, you know, the
typical
Orthodox. But I myself was not attracted at all to the Greek Orthodox Church. I found that the priests at the time were not really very educated. You see, so I didn't have much in common you know, and also there were not many young people. They were mostly older people, and they spoke Greek, and I didn't speak very good Greek, so there was no connection.
Yes.
So I just forgot about the church.
And the liturgy was
all in Greek,
chanting and in original Greek. So it was.
Yes. So there was nothing to attract me.
Yes.
So I just forgot about it. And if my parents went to church, I didn't want to go. Right. And that went on all the way up to high school, all the way through high school, up to Form 6, the final year. I did very well. And I got a scholarship to go to the University of Melbourne. So I did. But what happened in the meantime, during that initial period at Melbourne University, 1964-65, a British group of musicians called the Beatles took the world by storm. Maybe not in Greece, I understand that.
No.
And not in Lebanon, I understand that. But in Australia,
yeah, I remember that.
Fever.
Yes, I do remember.
They were more popular than the Collingwood Football Club. And that's really saying something for Melbourne, right?
Yes.
And in Great Britain, in Canada, in all the Anglo countries, they were a sensation. Now imagine being a 17-year-old kid, and these people explode on the scene, and I decided right there and then that I had to be like them. I had to imitate them. So I was already playing the guitar. Just playing, nothing great. And when they arrived, I decided we must now form an Australian equivalent to the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
Right. So the Beatles came here. Everybody went crazy at the Southern Cross. We used to call the Southern Cross.
Yeah, I remember them.
All the street, Burke Street, was full of people. You couldn't, like 500,000 people turned up. It was unbelievable. And so to me, university compared to the Beatles sounded a little bit dull. So I told my parents, I'm dropping out for 1 year. I had a scholarship, but I decided to postpone it. And I was going to form a group just like the Beatles. You understand? And they said, Themi, what are you doing? You at university now? You need to think about your career. My father, was concerned. I said, don't worry, Dad. Only 1 year. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine,
Yes.
So we grew our hair very long, the way the Beatles grew their hair. And we were among the first people, first musicians to do that. And we assembled 4 people together, each one with different instruments.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again. We're going to have a break again. It's very interesting, and we're coming back.
Okay.
It's a very interesting story we are hearing. We're going to a break, and we're coming back. Please stay with us.
Little baby, don't you cry. Daddy's gonna sing you a lullaby. When you're sleeping safe and sound, you've got the proudest dad in town. I remember when I first saw you, your heart beating as you grew. We'll read you stories to help you dream. Your mommy and I are a perfect team. I can't wait to hear you sing or watch as you put on a wedding ring. One day you'll have children too. Remember the times I sang to you.
We've all seen this one time or another. We may even have done it ourselves. But inhaling balloon gas is very dangerous and can be fatal. The helium in balloon gas acts as an asphyxiant, and when you inhale, it displaces the oxygen in your lungs. Balloon gas is safe in balloons and when you release it in a well-ventilated area and in a safe manner. So the next time you see some sucker about to inhale balloon gas, or you think it's going to be a laugh, stop and be gas-wise.
The thing I love about Australia is our spirit of mateship and togetherness. And whether it's a drought, a flood or a bushfire, when times are tough, Australians stick together. Well, I'll be spending Australia Day at Tamworth with 40,000 country music mates. It brings people together to celebrate our music and our great country.
Get together on Australia Day. Go to australiaday.org.au to find out how.
Show Me the Way creates the first social networking sites for Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete their schooling and continue to TAFE, university or vocational education. Show Me the Way connects students with e-mentors from corporate Australia. With secure online mentoring, Show Me the Way supports students to complete Year 12. To donate, visit showmetheway.org.au.
Welcome back. I'm talking to Father Themi about his previous life and how he was involved with the Beatles, and he was going to start something with the Beatles. Welcome back.
Well, yes, we were imitating the Beatles in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. We were the first group to be like the Beatles, yes, with the new type of music, because up to that point the popular music was Elvis Presley, mm-hmm, and Del Shannon and people who were of a particular musical mindset. We were bringing in a new type of music, and the music that the Beatles were creating and the Rolling Stones were creating was a new wave of music, yes, and the young people loved it. So we became so popular very, yes, quickly, yes, very quickly. We were going on television, national television. We did records. We cut records. Yes. We had hit songs on the hit parade. Yes. We did a tour of Australia. But also, we were called to be on the same show as the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. So they came to Australia in the late 60s, and we were to be the Australian group that was to be with them, mm-hmm, on the show. So that really gave us a very high profile. Very, yeah, high profile in Australia, and so we really achieved a tremendous amount of success in terms of music. Yes. In fact, outside my house in Williamstown, we had people just camping out, just staying there, just to get autographs. Yes. And my sister would go and sell my toothbrush for $2. Yes, and she would, at night when I'm asleep, she would cut some of my hair. I didn't know that. And she would make $1 she was a businesswoman, you understand. Oh, yes.
Was she younger or older?
Oh, much younger. Yeah, she would have been 4 years younger than me. So she would have been 12, 13. Yes. And she would go and sell these, yes, things to all the young fans that were camped outside the house. Yeah. And she would make good money, you see. But I didn't know anything about it.
So your parents, how did they react to all that? They accepted
my parents?
It? Yes.
They were just didn't know how to react to it. They didn't understand. They didn't know. They just accepted it after a while.
Yes.
But anyway, look. Eventually, I decided enough is enough. You know, I didn't want to continue with this rock and roll rock star business.
How long did you go?
About 2 years. 2 years. I remember I cancelled my scholarship for 1 year, and then I cancelled another one. But I decided to go back to university. I didn't want any more to continue.
What were you studying?
I now began to study philosophy and political science.
Okay.
Right? So I started again in Melbourne University, now doing serious studies, which led me to Marxism, to neo-Marxism, not classical Marxism, yes, what is known as new left, new, yes, Marxism. And I became convinced that the solutions to the problems facing the world was a Marxist application of economics, and particularly the worker, the working, yes, class people, yes, should be given more power, more money, and more authority. Mm-hmm. So, and it wasn't just joining the Labour Party. The Labour Party was considered to be a little bit too bourgeois, too middle class. It had to be more radical than that. We were looking for the revolution of, yes, the working class in Australia. And that's why we had the moratoriums, and we had the sit-downs at universities, and we had the lockdowns, and we were, of course, protesting against the Vietnam War as well, because that was going on at, yes, the time. And at the same time being a student, trying to wear two hats at the same time, being a student, passing exams, being a political activist, and so forth. I worked during my holidays, I worked at the railway yards, trying to get the railway workers to be aware that they were being exploited by the capitalist class and so forth. At any rate, what happened to me, Taki, was that at some point, I started believing in Jesus, which was very strange, because that was the last thing in the world that in my world, that was so alien. But what happened, I'll tell you. How it happened is that the Beatles had gone to India, and they were telling us in their music and in their messages that through transcendental meditation and through obedience to a yogi, a guru, you would find enlightenment. You would find enlightenment. So I went through that journey of meditation, trying to seek this enlightenment, but all it did for me eventually was to lead me to Christ. So that's how.
How was that?
Well, I can tell you one example. When I was in the ashram, which is like where the gurus are, it's called the ashram, like a church, but of Hinduism. Yeah. And I joined the Hare Krishna, but I decided the Hare Krishna was not good. Not it wasn't good, it wasn't for me. And then I went on to this ashram, the Divine Light Mission, some guru from India, and his disciple was giving us knowledge. We had to sit down and he would come and put his finger on our forehead and we would receive knowledge, divine knowledge. When he came to me, I was wearing a cross, right? But that cross for me was not a symbol of religion.
No,
it was more like a
decoration.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin, a group called Black Sabbath were wearing crosses. It was a fashion statement. But when he came to me, he looked at my cross and he said, "Oh, you'll have to remove that," the guru said. I said, "Why?" "Oh, you have to remove it." I said, "No, I'm not going to remove it." I became stubborn about it. Not because I believed in it, but because I wondered, why would this big guru be intimidated by a fashion statement? And I said, "No, I'm not going to remove it." And he said to me, "Well, you have to leave." I said, "I will leave." So I left. But that started me thinking, how come a big guru, a wise man from India, is intimidated by a little cross? Why? And that started the hard drive to start working. It started to making me think about Christianity and the power of the cross and the power of Christ. And I started reading the New Testament. And
so you got the Bible and you started reading.
I started reading the Bible day and night. I sold everything I had, gave it to the church and that kind of thing.
Well, very interesting story. Thank you very much for coming and telling us. And then we will continue next week about the mission that you are with.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching our program and being with us. And we hope you will be with us again next week when Father Thaim will continue with his story.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
Every time we buy certified organic, we're making a choice. to help our environment and build a healthier community. But it can be hard to know that what we're buying is truly organic. The Australian Certified Organic logo is only given to products after a very rigorous process. So when you see this logo, it means you can trust that there are no genetically modified foods, no animal cruelty, and no harsh synthetic pesticides used. A healthier community is always better for our future. So the next time you shop, look for this logo.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme. Om. Allah.
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with David Lawrence. David's a school teacher and he's an author, and he's recently written a book about Christian unity. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure, Norm.
As is the practice with this program, we'll first have a look at your spiritual background. You were born a Catholic. What happened then?
Well, I was born a Catholic. When I was about 15, so in middle school, I was just like any other person, any other kid who goes to school. You know, their faith didn't mean a great deal to them. And then one day, I don't know why, I just took a book out of my dad's library about a priest called Peter Claver. And in reading that book, I could prepare for hours and hours and hours and try and express what happened to me in reading that book, but I can't. It's impossible. I just felt the presence of God in the most incredible, life-changing way. It was just the most beautiful, incredible experience. And I knew for sure, like, I just had this inner certainty that God was real and that He loved me. And life was pretty difficult up to that point. My parents were separating, and it was, you know, life was hard. I wanted to die, I didn't want to be alive. You know, life was miserable every single day. I just didn't want to be there. And then this happened, and I just was filled with this joy from being so unhappy and miserable, morose and introverted, to experiencing this joy which lifted me out of myself. And it was incredible, and I just had this hunger for God. I just couldn't get enough of God. I just read book after book, and I prayed, and I went to Mass every day, and I just wanted to serve God and to love Him, and I just couldn't get enough of Him. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. I've experienced it, you know. Sometimes it's almost like, if I can draw a parallel, it's like giving somebody a cardboard cutout of a chicken and saying, eat that chicken. That's what God's like. And you'll eat it and you'll think it's tasteless, and
That's right.
But if you actually eat the chicken and it's a roast meal, it's nourishing, it's magnificent. But that's a limp comparison, but that kind of gives you some idea.
Yes.
And so I was just filled with this new zest for life. It was incredible. And I mean, I could go on and on about the beauty, but I was hit with this big bang where I just had this love of God, love of the church, love of the scriptures, love of the rosary, love of Mary, love of the Eucharist, all in one hit. Just bang. I've just found myself having a love, and I just wanted to give myself completely to God in my limited way at the time.
So it sounds like a major hunger. You had a hunger for everything that you could draw from the church, because, you know, the rosary, the Mass, the Bible.
Yep.
So that, at what time did that, or did it, maybe it didn't ever get sated? When were you satisfied? When did you sort of slow down on that?
That honeymoon period, which people generally have when they have this big conversion, I don't know that this joy that sort of was almost superhuman lasted maybe a few weeks, where I didn't feel like I could eat much. I didn't need to eat much. I was I fasted a lot, and but it lasted for quite a few years. I would say where I not with the same intensity, but this desire, this love for God, this desire to pray. And then I suppose after a few years there was a bit of it just became a lot more difficult, and and dry, and sort of the presence of God was now sort of I found not so strong. And in my life since that time, you often have experiences where you just feel that God is not there, and you just feel that He's abandoned me because of it was so strong. And then when sometimes it's amazing that you at those times you never think that you could ever think that God is abandoning you, because it's so strong. His presence is so real and sustaining you and so inspirational. But then sometimes you can just feel nothing. And in fact the opposite, that God's actually abandoning you. So that happens from time to time, as is the normal Christian walk.
Yes.
And there's been a couple of situations in life where I feel like I've sort of made a decision not to follow God, but because I had such a strong sense of His presence, it was impossible for me not believe in God. I never not believed in God. I just didn't want to follow His way, and so in my own sort of way, sort of went my own way, but then came back.
Did those ways have a good outcome, or did they fall over?
No, not at all. No. In the first situation, I felt that God had let me down, because a lot of those dreams that I had, this is my early 20s, for myself were not coming true. And so I just blamed God. And that was a fairly immature response. Even though I had this very powerful experience of God, it doesn't sort of make you a perfect human being. You still got your own. I still had my own faults and weaknesses and flaws, and even now, the way that I see God is imperfect. But I feel so blessed that God showed me His love, and I experienced God as a God of love. And in my journey, I've had critical moments where I've experienced God's healing in a very powerful way, particularly emotional, psychological healing.
Okay.
And I just I'm so grateful that I know that it's God that's done that.
If they're not too personal, what are some examples of that? Emotional, psychological.
One was I was because of the breakup of my parents. I had this inherent sense that I just wasn't very worthy, and I had a poor self-esteem. Even though I'd had this experience of God, I think I had this harbouring poor self-esteem. And then through a few situations, there was one particular incident. I was with a Franciscan priest who had a gift of healing. And we were just praying for me one day, and I just had this experience of Jesus, and I was like a lamb in His arms.
Yes.
And it was so tender and so beautiful and so touching and so deep-seated. It really just I had Jesus loving me. Yes. And in that time it was so personal. It was Jesus, not sort of God earlier, but it was the person of Jesus who touched me. And when you believe that Jesus is the Son of God and the one who is to come to judge the living and the dead, and the second person of the Blessed Trinity, when this God comes to you in a very tender way and actually touches you and you feel, it's not in the head, it's in the whole being.
The whole being. But something that is in the head is our insistence on measuring things by time, and we're out of it. We'll be back in a moment.
USPCA. For all creatures, great and small. We want to show you what's dangerous about this river, but we can't. That's the problem. You can't see ice-cold water, snags like tree branches or strong currents. So in enjoying our rivers, remember, wear a life jacket, avoid alcohol around water, never swim alone, and learn how to save a life. Our rivers are beautiful, but more Australians drown here than anywhere else. It's simple. Respect the river. Head to royallifesaving.com.au/respect the river for more information.
William Tyrrell was abducted from his nana's home on the New South Wales mid-north coast on the 12th of September 2014. And somebody knows who did it. Do you? There is a $1 million reward for information that leads police to William. That's 1 million reasons to make the call. Contact Crime Stoppers now. 1800 333 000. Make the call.
It's shave time! Sign up now!
William Tyrrell.
It's shave time! Sign up now!
Was abducted.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with David Lawrence. David's a school teacher and an author. He's just written a book about Christian unity. David, I interrupted you in a very sensitive place before. You were speaking about some of the experiences that you've had, and you were describing a fairly elevated state of being.
And so I had this experience of Jesus through this healing prayer, if you like, where I was touched so deeply and so personally and intimately and experienced this love so powerfully that I consider it a definite point at which my self-esteem just began to get a lot more healthy and robust. And I think, you know, I know that God mediates His love through people, through the love of people, family, friends, etc. This one was very direct, and it was just beautiful. And so, when you experience Jesus in that way, you naturally just want everybody to experience this love. And often when I talk to people about faith and God and religion, it's this experience of the cardboard chicken. It's nothing to offer them, but I know who Jesus is, and so I think it's just really important for me who have experienced this love to try and share that love and try and in some way be a sort of an ambassador, a servant, a follower who points to Jesus as a God of love. You know, that God has sort of broken into my life, just like He has broken into the world, to show His love, and it's not some fantasy fairy story. It's real, and it's real.
Real, yes.
And there's even in the midst of suffering. You know,
Yes.
it's not like God has taken away the suffering. You know, there's times in my life where He hasn't taken away the suffering, but just having His presence there is sustaining and joyful. So I've experienced joy while I'm suffering.
Yes.
Which I think is a very particularly Christian gift, a gift of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, a sustaining joy. Yep. You had some concept of being a priest, though, didn't you?
Yep, I did. I did. When I was 15 and I had this big bang experience of the love of God who just broke into my life, because I wanted to give myself so much to God, and as a Catholic, as a young man, very often the priestess is the first thing that comes into your mind. You've got this impression that being a priest is the best way to serve God, which I've subsequently discovered is not the best way. The best way to serve God is the way that God wants you to serve Him. And for some people it is as a priest. For me, I thought, well, I know God wants me to give myself completely to Him. I want to, but I want to be the best, and I want to do it in the best way. There's a little bit of ego and pride in there, but I didn't want to be a priest. I thought, no, it's just too restrictive, etc. And at one point, I was kneeling in my room at night, and there was a picture of bas relief statue of Jesus, the Sacred Heart of Jesus there. And I was talking to the Lord, and I said, Lord, at this point, if you want me to be a priest, I will be a priest. And I thought at that moment when I let my guard down that that's what He was asking me to be. And so I at that point I was very excited. Yes, Lord, I want to be one of your priests, just like Peter Claver and these great priests that I'd read about in my dad's library. But as time went on, I realised that this, when in the actual concrete circumstances of life, I did my arts degree, I got a job, it just wasn't happening. And then at the age of 33, I decided, on the recommendation of somebody, to do a year of discernment with the Emmanuel community, of which I was a part. That's one of these new charismatic communities. And I went to Belgium and did this year, and at the end of that I decided that it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was very happy with that. Because prior to that, I'd had this sense of obligation. Back when I was 15, God wanted me to be a priest. But looking back on it, I just somehow misinterpreted it. I don't know. But after 3 months, we had this very, very wise priest who was the rector and the spiritual director, and he looked at me with these big eyes, with glasses, huge eyes, and he looked at me and he said, what do you want? And I realised, and that's what God was asking me. What do I want? And I wanted to love Him, I wanted to serve Him, but I didn't want to be a priest. And I didn't have that sense of obligation. And so I thought, yes, I don't want to be, I'm free. I've got this answer.
Yes.
About whether all these years, even breaking up with girlfriends, etc., because I thought, back in my mind, I'm going to be a priest. But I was freed from it at that stage. I was 33. And so I came back to Melbourne, excited about what the rest of life had to hold.
That's interesting. Well, there is a school of thought which, of course, holds that we are all actually priests, just not ordained.
A royal priesthood.
Exactly right. So you the Emmanuel community, what's that about?
I love the Emmanuel community. It's one of these beautiful treasures that I think the Holy Spirit is giving to the church at this time, particularly. It started with a guy called Pierre Goussat, whose cause for canonisation is up, with another young medical student called Martine Cata, who's still alive and living in France. And it was at the start of the charismatic renewal in the Catholic Church.
Right.
This couple, Martine and Pierre, went to America and experienced what's called the outpouring of the Holy Spirit, this new outpouring where they experienced the Holy Spirit in a very, very powerful way. They brought it back to France, and through the action of the Holy Spirit, they started a prayer group which just grew exponentially and then came to become an ecclesial movement called Emmanuel. Okay. And there's a number of them around the world, and this is one. It's been in Melbourne for quite a few years, but it's in about 50 countries throughout the world. So if you're called to be a priest with the community, generally you can go to a place in Belgium where they have the formation house.
And so that I was actually going to ask you a question which would lead us over the break time, so I won't do that. Just summarising your story to this point, though, it seems that it constantly comes back to love. It comes back to love. It comes back to love.
Yep.
And the Jesus him holding you as a lamb is just a wonderful example of that. We'll go to a break. We'll be back in a moment.
To every child's development, an important message from the Australian Toy Association.
Come on, fellas. Let's get down there.
Hang on. Where's Dave?
Oh, hey fellas. What do you think? Pretty cool, eh?
Real men look out for each other. Don't let your mates drink and drown.
My name is Logan. I'm 12 years old and I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. My muscles are degenerating and I was put into a wheelchair 2 years ago. Soon I won't be able to move at all. The majority of people affected will not live past their 20s, including me. So we need your support to improve our quality of life until a cure is found.
Each week on MELfeed Video, join us for Northern Access Television's general interest chat show, NAT Chat. Each episode features interesting and informative interviews from people of all walks of life. Weekly topics include community groups, religious topics, and professional people covering many different subject areas. That's NAT Chat every Monday night at 8 p.m. here on MELfeed Video.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with David Lawrence. David's a school teacher and he's an author. He's written a book about Christian unity. We're talking about the Emmanuel community, David. How does that manifest itself in your day, say in Australia? What does it do?
The community is a way of holiness. So people who are drawn to the community and who live in the community are people who want to serve God and serve the church. And it's a Catholic community, but it has all sorts of missions and activities. So what happens is if you feel drawn to this way of life, to this lifestyle within the church, you go through a formation period, and then you make a commitment. And essentially there are three sort of graces of the community: compassion, adoration, and evangelization. So it's a very missionary community. It does all sorts of missionary work and work with in poor countries, third world countries, but all sorts of online missionary work, and it's runs schools of mission, schools of music, and street missions and prayer groups, and we meet regularly once a month as a community, and also we meet in small household groups fortnightly for a year. Members commit themselves to extended periods of prayer each day, just before the Blessed Sacrament, if possible, and try and live their Christian life simply and as well as they can.
So it's a lay community.
It's a lay community,
yes.
Although there are priests in the community. So there are men and women who are consecrated in celibacy, like the old brothers and sisters.
Yes.
There are priests, but most of the community are lay families with normal jobs, single people, etc.
Oh, that's very interesting. And it's got some communities overseas as well, as you say. Do you meet together? Is there an annual?
Yep, there is. There are. The spiritual heart of the community is in Paray-le-Monial, which is a small town in France, where the revelation of Jesus' Sacred Heart was revealed to Saint Margaret Mary.
Okay.
So that's the spiritual heart, and the community are entrusted with pilgrimages to that site. So there's every year there's thousands and thousands of people, 25,000 people that converge on Paray-le-Monial in summertime, and there's a week of formation for young people, for married people, for priests, for musicians, etc. And also during the year there are certain international congresses and meetings.
Right.
But obviously not everyone around the world. It exists in lots of different countries, 50 countries. Not everyone can come overseas, so they just have their own meeting in their own countries. And retreats. In fact, there is a retreat going on in Rye January this year.
Okay.
So in Australia, so people from around Australia will be coming to that. So it's a beautiful community. It's just a way of sharing the love and the gospel of Jesus with a world that hungers for him.
And you say it has good works that it does. What would be some examples of that?
One, it runs an organisation called Fidesco, which is basically like an NGO that works in poor countries throughout the world. For example, a recent initiative has been with some of the Latin American communities in the US who are struggling, who come up and work in the US, but their conditions are really, really poor. So the community is funding sort of people to work with the South Americans there. Another one in Africa, lots of community development projects in Africa. There's one in Paris, for example, that I attended to. It's SOS Prayer, which is 24-hour free service where people just call up and get a counselling service and have people pray for them. There's a hospice there for people who are dying for AIDS, so the community runs that. So there's many different countries have their own different missions and sort of outreaches depending on what the need of the country is.
And for you, how close does being part of the Emmanuel community match up with your desire to be a priest in the past?
Well, with when I first encountered the community, I still had this idea that I was going to be a priest. I first encountered the community in Paray-le-Monial when I went to France in 1991. And a friend of mine who actually is a priest in the community in Australia, he suggested for me to go to the summer sessions. I went there and there's this huge tent in this beautiful open grounds in this Burgundy village, absolutely picturesque. And I'd never experienced the Catholic Church so alive and vibrant and dynamic with 5,000 people, young people, beautiful women, and full of faith and energy and vitality, people who love their faith and who are formed in their faith and who love Jesus and who are full of the Holy Spirit, the joy, the life, the energy and the dynamism, who are proud of their faith and wanted to share it in an environment. And I thought, wow, I want to be a part of this. And a number of people from Melbourne experienced a very similar thing. And so it just grew and grew. So to answer your question, if I was to be a priest, I would want it to be a priest in the Emmanuel community.
Yes.
And so it's not an order as such, like the Dominicans or the Jesuits. Emmanuel priests are diocesan priests, but they have a special relationship with the local bishop who allows them not just their diocesan work, but part of their time to devote to the missions and the outreaches of the community as well.
Yes, because I was just thinking about the priest with the big eyes behind his glasses saying, what is it that you want? And perhaps the Emmanuel community is more what you want. And because you seem to be, you come alive when you're talking about it. It's very much part of it. So you're married, aren't you?
Yeah, married for 8 years to my lovely wife. Yep.
And is she also associated with the Emmanuel community?
Yeah, generally when one spouse is in it, generally both are in it.
Well, it seems that there's a lot about Christian unity in what we've been talking about, and that's what your book's about.
Yep.
Will you come back next week and speak about that?
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. We'll be speaking with David Lawrence about his book on Christian unity.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
The following program carries an MA classification and may contain adult themes and coarse language. MELfeed Video advises that it is suitable for viewers aged 15 plus.
Love Story 1. The patchwork landscape slips by to the clickety-click of wheels on rails. Bare trees are filigree against the low, slung sky. Frost hovers. My breath is a mint puff of fog on glass. A black-haired child brushes the Goldilocks of a dolly with china blue eyes and a tiny scarlet mouth. She's kissing its face and murmuring, "You'll never forget me, will you, Clara? You won't forget me. You'll never forget me, will you, Clara?" This train is a witch's broom, and you are my destination. 2. I stood for a long time and held your shirt to my face, breathing in the scent of you. It was freshly washed, but the essence of you still clung to the garment, the aroma buried in the folds of the rolled-up sleeves. My eyes scanned the faded fabric for some clue as to whether you would ever realize how much desire I have in me. And then, like a furtive thief, I nervously undid the front. I slipped it over my naked body, the seams kissing my skin, the collar's slight stiffness whispering of the last time you pressed yourself against me. The frayed cuffs displayed none of their owner's antagonism, but lay quietly encircling my wrists. The one on the left, anxiously cradling a loose button.
Observe this. Slowly she arises from her still cocoon of silence. Her sexy stroll towards the stage leaves us in awe of her vibrance. A sharp stare and a sly smile are all she needs to gain our undivided attention. Her lips cast a spell with their mesmerizing movements, opening and closing with the grace of a midsummer butterfly. Those magnets of eyes that relentlessly attract the emotions of the strongest men. Those darting eyes of endless depth undress the whole room in an instant. When she recites, she stirs up an ambivalent concoction of attraction, disgust, and envy. Sometimes she weaves words of woe, transcending tears with tales of two travelers who lost touch. I bathed in your desire. I bathed in your sunshine as you explored the depth of my desire. But our connection drowned and burned simultaneously in a tsunami of fire. And just when you think that crescendo of melancholy is about to reach its summit, she sends icy chills of lust through every bone in your body. A lust that is synchronically feverish. The subtle scent of lavender in the background. The taste of Pinot Noir on both our sets of lips, and the firmness of your touch. These are the gusts that form my whirlwind of pleasure and send my sense of self-control deep into the oblivion of your crystal eyes. The beauteous combination of her amazing words and relentlessly radiant physical appearance urge me to approach her. But whenever I do, intimidation blurs my confidence and crumbles my intellect. Thus, what normally comes out of my mouth sounds something like, "Awesome poem. That was really deep. Nice metaphors." I like metaphors. Her response is never more than a mere disconcerted formality, making me feel as if I'd never be worthy of someone with such high standards. I suppose by now you're curious as to the identity of this mistress. She is a magical minstrel of endless awe, but she isn't a specific person, more of a type, a species, and I'm sure you've met one before. She frustrates me endlessly, sending me deep into the abyss of agitation, as she is the literary whore. And I want her so bad.
Just to inform you if you don't know, a baron is an Irish drum. I met a wee cock sparrow, but no feathers did he wear. His plumage was a paintbrush, and he spoke all words and air. A merry wee cock sparrow, now in the single state. He celebrated early and he celebrated late. Within one celebration, in a military place, I chanced to meet the sparrow and beheld him face to face. We talked of songs and music and Bowden drums and things, and he told me of a secret, to make my Bowden sing. The secret he did whisper into my hearing ear. The magic trick to Bowdens was to fill him up with beer. Into my virgin Bowden some beer he then did pour, swished it round with sticky fingers, and poured in a wee drop more. And miracle of miracles, my Bowden she did sing, and I thanked the wee cock sparrow for teaching me this thing. About a fortnight later, a strange and curious sight appeared upon my Bowden skin. For almost overnight, my barren skin was covered with great spots of blue-grey mould. In horror, I beheld the sight and cursed the one who told me of his precious secret. Then I thought within me mind, you canna blame a wee cock sparrow who is single, Scots, and blind.
It's called You're Not My Dad. During all these years, look at what you've done. You cause tension and bring me fear, a thing for no father and son. You took my mum away from me and left me all alone. You've made me feel hurt and unwelcome, and that's all you've shown. You push me around, you perturb me, and you don't even care. How soulless of you to disturb me and send me to despair. You may have good intentions, but they've all gone bad. You've inflicted immense pain on me over my head. This makes me sad. You made me feel blue. What kind of a father are you? I forgive you, it's true, but you make me feel bad. So therefore I say to you, you're not my dad. Thank you.
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here, to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Man to man, it's time to stop.
Stop the tragic waste of life and the destruction of families, including your own.
Stop blaming drugs and alcohol and believing that walking away makes you weak.
Stop thinking you're a hero and wasting your life behind bars, wishing you could take that one moment back.
Stop the coward's punch.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motorcar. Enjoy.
Our end game aim is to conquer every blood cancer and help every Australian living with these diseases. You can help and shave the world from blood cancer. Sign up now.
A new man in my life. Tall, dark, handsome, spunky, athletic, young, roughly half my age. Me, a cougar? No way. I'm too young to be a cougar. Lunch with his friends. I take special care with makeup and hair. I arrive on time, a first for me. I try to look confident, act interested and interesting, settle back, relax. Then shit happened. I discover a long, wiry hair sprouting from my chin. A big, ugly, long, grey, wiry hair. Right there. I feel the bloody thing growing. It was humongous. I panicked, excused myself, bolted to the bathroom, pulled at it, tugged at it, but it wouldn't budge. In fact, it curled. My eyes watered, I couldn't see, so I gave up and had a pee. I took another look in the mirror. I felt I'd aged 20 years. I looked 40. Come on, come on. Bugger, no tweezers. I skulked back to my seat. Embarrassed, I tried to be invisible. Struck a casual pose. Hiding my out there now pubic-looking hair. I decided I'd just sit back, listen and observe. Love of my life on my left. Looking good. Bottle blonde on my right. Too young to grow hair anywhere. I checked out the dude opposite. He's lost half his hair. Got shitloads on his ears. More stuffed up his nose. Probably some on his back to match. So why should I worry about one freaking hair? Tell me, do I need laser treatment? Zero? A whippersnipper? This shouldn't be happening to me. I'm just too young. Thank you.
I want to be somebody. I want to become somebody. Leave the old behind and be born again. I want to soar again, strap these wings to my back, turn my face to the sun and fly straight through the moon. I want to weave the words of those poets. Weave words that leave mouths open and hearts arrested. Speak words that drop bombs in the dams in the corner of the hardest man's eyes and then dance wildly with him in the tears that come flowing down. Speak words that set a fire in the bosom of every woman all over this world that has only known silence and fear and intimidation. So may these words that I write, may they carry on through this night. May they live on and breathe on and bleed on and flow on like a river down the pavements of these streets, down the alleys in the beats, making their way to the water. To that girl who sits on the pier, drinking the last coffee, sipping the last tea she thought she would ever have, until these words remind her to once again open her heart, open her eyes, open her life. May these words that I write, These songs that I sing, these prayers that I pray, may they be more than this night, more than this day, more than this week, more than this sound flowing from this breath we speak. May they bleed from the soles of these feet. No more words without meaning, no more prayers without screaming, for I speak words. I bleed them out. I bleed these words from these veins like ink to the page. I bleed these words from this chest, these words beating in my breast. I bleed this ink from this vein into the street, into the rain, praying to this God that these streams would carve from the earth the very rivers of all the revolutions that are still to come. And I am most astounded that these poems that I write are willing to just lay down and sleep inside flat closed pages of paper. For if these poems that I bleed behaved as their essence decreed, they would be out dancing on the seashore, breaking every single unjust law, swimming through clouds and setting fire to the sky, holding hands and making love and making me a better me. For I want to be somebody. I want to become somebody. Leave the old behind and be born again. I want to soar again.
I want to know how you see hip-hop. What does it look like through your eyes on the inside? Lauryn Hill once said that hip-hop started out in the heart. Now everybody's trying to chart. What does she mean? She means hip-hop was first a feeling, a culture, before it even created its own image and had a picture. Before a dance, a word, and long before it even got heard. Its divine design is a place of freedom. 4 elements merged into one contains a whole lot of meaning. See, I started out at 16. Life was pretty simple, but I had a dream. From chasing moves and mixing beats, something came over me. The day I decided to play Fat Man Scoop and do choreography. See, I felt something before I could even express it much. And so does everybody else before the media covers it up. A lot of what we know about hip-hop is very covered, but the beauty lies beneath where the heart of it beats on the street, where one seeks to be unique and seeks individual peace. See, an individual is so invincible because he never settles for the typical. He is solely original and organic by principle, and this is how hip-hop was pioneered, by one feeling a feeling and losing sight of all fears. You know, I'm not up here to sound hip-hop or look hip-hop to be hip-hop. Or try sound more like a man so I can say to myself after this, shock girl, that sounded more like Def Jam. No. I just get this urge to pick up a pen again and again and again. And when I hear a beat, I can't help but move my feet like a freak out to seek that one moment where I'm finally me. Al Boogie once said that music is supposed to inspire. But when I turn the radio on, all I feel like I'm listening to is a bunch of liars. But I know a feeling never lies. This is how I know real hip-hop will never die.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe, warm and dry? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
Juggling work and caring for Mum can be overwhelming. Having an understanding employer and access to support helps. I love my mum. I just wish I had some time to myself.
You teach us strangers are dangerous. But someone we know is a much more likely threat. You teach us strangers are dangerous. But who will help when you're not around? Create a world without unnecessary fear. Prepare, don't scare.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
I can't conquer blood cancer on my own. I need your help. Sign up now.
This one's for Ruby. Sweet Ruby, the angels have gathered you and carried you home now. After 8 long years of fighting, they put you upon their heavy, dusty wings and carried you home. Across the threshold of your bleak understanding and their anger and their pity and their shame, and now the flood of compassion begins. The letters from people all over the world pour in, into a charity that has your name. The girl with the pretty pink flower and soft red hair overflowing has inspired the world, and the rustle of checkbooks help ease the heartache of families losing their babies all over the world before their lives have ever begun. Oh, sweet Ruby, I know how that feels to be a mum that has lost a child. I know how it feels to spend your days in a haze of tears that never stop, and look into the corners of rooms and never see the cradles that are meant to be there, and see happy, smiling, crying babies in supermarkets neglected by their drug-addicted mothers who don't seem to care, and to ask the question, why, all the time, and want your baby back so bad that you never leave the house and you cry yourself to sleep. And every year on her birthday you light a candle that says tulip, and together you cry with her father at the beautiful little spirit that could never be. That happened to me, sweet Ruby Angel. Oh, Ruby, you had to leave your family and your friends. You wrote them love letters and you left them on the mantelpiece. And you had to leave your little buddy Andy, who used to build sandcastles with you at the beach. There were many ice creams in those days that Daddy used to buy, and photo opportunities. The yummy ice creams, rainbow was your favourite, used to drip down your hands and only the puppy could lick them up. You died from a disease, a rare form of cancer that you could never pronounce. A word that you could never get your mouth around, a word that went on and on and on for 26 letters or more. You spent years in a hospital ward, playing with other kids with conditions just like yours, building building blocks that were much taller than you, and oh, the laughter that would ensue when they came crashing down. Chemotherapy is just another word, and it wasn't your favourite word, and that made you sick most mornings on the way to school. Mummy called it magic medicine, and your smile was so full of glitter and fairies and made all the nicest nurses sigh. They said to your mummy, my, you've got such a beautiful daughter, Mrs. Pearson. I hope I have 8 just like yours. Sweet Ruby, you were the light of the universe, and if everyone could feel your laughter and your joy, there would be world peace. One day you just dropped down at school and you never got back up. And your eyes were squeezed shut, and your best friend said, I can't wake her up. They carried you to the ambulance van, and that was the last time that they saw you, except for the little white box at the church with the pink flowers all around the preacher. They put you in the ground, and your mummy cried and she cried and she cried and she wanted you back. I want to give your mummy a hug. You are still here. I feel your essence so. You danced with the angels. Please say hello to my baby sister and my daughter that could never be. I hope that playtime is fun up there, and I hope that you have ribbons in your hair and you have a bit of a sing and a dance for me. When I see pink flowers, I shall think of your name. You were gone before your time, but you taught the world so many beautiful lessons and trinkets of things. And we are so blessed to have learned from such an angel. Thank you for your beauty and your humour and your spirit and your grace. You will not be forgotten, Petal. We carry you in our heart.
Thanks. Sorry, can you just speak up for a second? Yeah, you.
Say it louder. Say it clear. Say it so the peaks of skyscrapers can hear. Scream into the city's giant ear and feel the weight of your words scald and sear, burning into the eternal memory of our very own history that we write, that we wrote. Use your lips, let yourself be known. Our mothers gave us a tongue. These words, do you know how to use them? How to twist and form and abuse them? Can you understand the intricate layers behind the speak of the fool and the wary naysayers? Can you pierce your shrieking lung to shape and shift our mother tongue? Tell me, was it you? Do you know? Who planted these seeds of doubt that grow behind every sentence uttered, every insult muttered, every question stuttered, every exclamation spluttered? These words that cannot stand on their own legs or lend a hand to thoughts that might go against the grain or suggest a patch of fog and rain over our sunshine state that burns on the blistering side of this planet that turns to the music of all those word-bending fools who break our backs and make the rules. These words that are spun gold before our eyes, weaving a beautiful patchwork of lies, that those born hungry are lazy and weak, that those with no voice are stupid and meek. These words paint a picture that simply must be bought by those with means. Why, that's us! And hung above the mantelpiece as a symbol of the world's enduring peace. As child soldiers move into the firing line and poison leaks out of a badly maintained mine, we remark at how the weather's fine and alight upon a rug to dine on the snippets of world news that bring cultural interest to our social ring. And we discuss the state of oil as the kettle is set to boil. We talk about trouble elsewhere whilst having someone fix our hair. And in our own country we sigh. We never bother to ask someone why. At the sorry state of otherness that doesn't figure in our household bless. And underneath all these half-spoken truths, we are happy with our colour-bond roofs. We care enough to seem sensitive. We think enough to look pensive. The facts are all comprehensive. It's just too expensive to lend a hand or take a stand with these words that are beyond our control, that are lost between political rigmarole. What use are these mere collections of letters? How on earth could they possibly make anything better? Not one, not two, far less than few of our children's children would shut up if they knew just what we have the power to say, just who we might be able to sway. But for now, at least, we'll shut our mouths and muffle our protesting animal howls. Speak up, we'll whisper to ourselves. Say something before we've all gone to hell.
I was in my 40s when I was first diagnosed with bowel cancer. George, my son, was 6 years old at that time. These days, like people of his age, he's very busy, but he still needs to find the time to get to know his bowel cancer risk. Is that right, George?
Yes, Dad. Bowel cancer affects 1 in 12 Australians, young and old, and is our second biggest cancer killer. But if caught early, bowel cancer is treatable and beatable. My dad is living proof of that. So get to know your bowel cancer risk. Talk to your pharmacist or GP about screening. Protect yourself and the ones you love. Go to lovemyfamily.org.au.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Tonight of all nights, it's a glamorous night here on 15 Fabulous Minutes. I'm outside BMW for a launch of a new car. I want one. You're watching it.
Come on.
the E65 7 Series. We don't know what it looks like because it's under this blanket, the new car of BMW. That's what we're here for the launch.
It's more than just a car launch for us. The car itself, BMW's new 7 Series, represents more to us than just a car launch can provide. The new 7 Series represents the BMW core values. The core values: a dynamic car, a challenging car, a cultured car. In fact, the essence of BMW, as in their slogan, sheer driving pleasure.
Do you wear this dress when you're driving your car?
I haven't tried yet, no.
You haven't?
No.
Do you have a BMW?
Yes, I do.
Well, what do you drive?
Z3.
A Z3. I'd picture that pretty much so. Why'd you choose that one?
That's my company car.
Oh, that's your company car. So you're working for BMW?
That's right.
So what do you do?
I'm in sales.
Sales. I think you're selling a lot today wearing that dress. Is that the whole idea? You just wear this little red number and you can flog them off, right?
No, I don't wear this to work.
No?
No.
Oh, so your sales aren't that good then while you're at work?
Yeah.
Oh, they are?
I don't need the dress to sell cars.
So what's going on tonight then? You can explain a bit about it.
Just at launch the new 7 Series.
What's the iDrive?
It's a new technology. Instead of your gear shift, you actually it's all computerized in front of you on the screen.
So you do it on your
you can control your climate, your music, your actual drive of the car. It's all done on the steering wheel.
Hold on, Jess. So you don't actually have to change gears at all anymore? That's
it's all
good.
hands-free, so...
Hands-free. Look at me. I'm not driving. I think I'll love that. Well, we're going to have to see this car then, won't we?
We will.
When do I get mine? How do I get mine?
Place an order, come and see me, and I'll...
How long would it take to get a car?
June next year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So it's a long way?
Yes.
Is that standard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Assistant parts manager, yep.
So you wouldn't have much to do really because you don't need spare parts for this car, really, do you?
You wouldn't have to. It's going to put me out of a job, you see.
It
So
is.
yeah,
Especially this new 7 Series.
The brand new 7 Series, yeah, for sure.
So what are you going to do then?
I know, I might have to find another job elsewhere. I have to work for Mercedes because they always break down.
So find a car that breaks down, basically.
That's right, yeah.
Now, how reliable? You're in the engine, you're in there and you know all your bits and pieces?
Oh, I know a fair bit about it, yeah.
So how good are they?
They're fantastic.
What's
fantastic.
so good about them?
They're just basically that they're eventually they're going to be able to download information over the telephone line to update the car.
Oh, you get out of here.
Yeah, the car can tell the service department just through a phone call, not you ringing it, that there's a problem with the car. So that's just...
So they can pinpoint the area that's wrong with it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's amazing. You can do that now with most BMWs. You can do that now.
Well, I think it's wonderful, but it's for others, not for me.
Not for you. Why?
No.
What do you think it says?
I think it says high velocity.
High velocity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think certain cars have certain statuses?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You don't fit into this one?
No.
So what do you drive?
What do I drive?
Yeah, what do you drive?
I drive a 74 Buick.
Buick, okay.
Yeah.
I can see you in that.
That's
understand.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I see all my mates and...
So you're not a BMW guy then?
Oh, well, I would be.
Would be, if you could be.
If I could be.
I was going to say, because the door's that way, I was going to kick you out, you know?
Well, I'm just going as a matter of fact.
Oh, are you? Out that way, go on.
Tonight there are a lot of people who have worked extremely hard to make this happen. I mean, this is a dream for people to own a vehicle like this, and so it seems appropriate to sing this song, which is also from Man of Imagine. And I do hope that you have a wonderful time tonight. To dream the impossible, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, and to run where the brave dare go.
What a performance!
Oh, thank you very much.
What a star!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. No.
Now you're doing something different, getting into movies. What's going on there?
I know, yeah, that is a little bit unusual. It was an accident, totally an accident. I was doing a musical called Chicago, and Baz Luhrmann came to see Chicago. He was sitting in the audience.
Said, I want you.
And the next day I got a fax through at my house saying, will you come and do a screen test for me?
Come on, babe, why don't we bring the sound? just a night at home, but there's a nightly crawl, and all that jazz.
So what have you been doing in Melbourne now?
Well, I've been here, which has just been a bit too glamorous and fabulous. And
you got a BMW?
I don't. I want this one. This is the one I want. It's just, I came and had a sneaky look this afternoon.
Oh, did you?
I came into the sound check, and then
you didn't take it for a test drive?
No, I didn't even sit in it. I was too scared in case something happened to it before tonight. And it is absolutely stunning. You know how men get this thing about cars?
What is that?
I can actually.
Oh, you got it with the car as well.
My husband has a couple of very special cars back in London, and they're kept in the garage, and he polishes them. He actually pays them more attention than he does me.
Oh, that's normal.
That's normal, and he treats them with such care and caresses them. And I could see that actually. I walked in here today, and I could see why the excitement is there. It's because it is something quite. It's art.
Your father started the trade.
He did.
So obviously you got it from your father?
We got the passion from Dad, yes. We're all in it. There are 5 members of the family, and we're all in the car business.
Fantastic.
And we're all 4 of us in this dealership here.
And the generation will move on and on.
That's right.
So what's so passionate, about this car that you love so much? You're idolising it. You were salivating.
Yeah. It's the music that's in
That was the music, yes.
It's the music. Its ability to be one with the driver. You can get in and you can feel the car, and the car gives back to you. The car responds to how you play, and that's really valuable. I mean, I enjoy that in a car.
Yeah.
I don't want a car that's numb.
Yeah, you don't want to just sit there.
A car that feels and a car that participates.
It's a part of you. It's an extension of you.
And it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be like a race car or something just so sporty. It's a compromise, and that's where this product does so well. It's
You've been the first in Australia to have this launch before Germany and other countries. How did you do that?
I think it's...
Who did you pay over when you were on your European
trip?
trip?
We do.
Yes.
We're obviously...
That's exciting. That is so exciting that you did that.
It's really... It's incredible that the Germans will bring it here for us, because we're not
a test pilot here, are we, down
that's
here?
Right. We're the test bunnies. That's right.
Try it in Australia.
Medical rats. That's right.
Which is a privilege.
If the Australians take it, everyone will use it. It really is. I mean, we're about 2% of their total volume,
which is
worldwide, which is nothing,
Nothing at all, yeah.
And to be able to have the car, the managing director of BMW Australia, not the man who spoke tonight, but his boss, he's incredibly passionate. And I believe that the momentum that Australia has had in the last 10 years in volume of sales and investment in the brand has paid off at Germany. They respect our passion.
I saw it first.
Seen anything like it. Plus, and the first thing that I saw when they pulled back the curtain today were the wheels. And that's what the designer was mentioning. Were the wheels to me just stuck out because they were so huge. And then suddenly I realised that the car was actually a lot bigger and grander. And
that's you. You're big. You're grand.
I show off for a living, and I think if you're in that car, you just basically just show off.
We're going to go inside. We're sitting in here. Not room. We could fit a few more in here, don't you think? We could get a few more in here.
Yes, we can fit a couple more.
How's the features going in here?
I haven't really tried them, but Tom will be able to give you a full rundown.
Have you got the keys?
We don't have the keys.
You don't need keys. Oh, that's right, because it's got that...
Tell it to go home.
Tell it to go home.
Smart lock system on the car.
So what does that mean?
What it means is to start the car, you turn the ignition on with a conventional type key, then you push a button to start the car, and it just just works in a different system.
It's not like a code or anything, is it? No. So that prevents someone from breaking in and doing it?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, clever.
Very clever.
So what are some of the other features that are in the car itself?
Okay, well there's...
that you'd highly recommend putting in anyone else's car, because they all follow anyway, don't they? They copy. Yeah.
Well, as normal, we'll start off with a 7 Series, then all the features will run down through the car. And there's active suspension on the car and
smooth driving.
Smooth driving, and it just makes the car a lot more safer to drive.
It's the world's most safest car?
Yes, it is.
That's a pretty high achievement. I reckon, because we'll just take it. What do you reckon?
Just take it. I think these wheels look nice on my car, actually.
I think
they're pretty large, aren't they?
I don't think they'd be too happy if they found their BMW jacked up on a few bricks. I could just see it now. Very impressive. You got a lovely little flower there as well.
Flower.
What brings you here tonight?
I've come to see the new car.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
And not just for the food and the gorgeous men?
No.
You found a husband yet?
Yes, I've been married for 16 years.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Oh, because I thought, there'd be a few people here just searching for a husband.
It's about due for a trade-in.
Need a new model. Well, check out the new model.
No,
what about yourself?
No, I don't think there are any potential husbands here.
No. Why's that?
No, I think they're far too interested in the cars, not women.
No, you forget it. You're not getting any luck tonight.
No, absolutely not.
Nobody, no, nobody is gonna rain on my
From one party to another, we're at the Windsor on the red carpet for the Cup handover. That's right, Melbourne Cup handover. Let's check it out. Gala event, major gala event. Of course, no one would expect anyone less than, of course, yourself to be here tonight.
Oh, you're very, very kind.
How important is this to someone like yourself as an event?
I think it's a very eventful event because it's a handing over of the cup. It's the cup that's they're all fighting for. It's the week that everybody has a good time. It's the race that's the most important race in Australia, one of the most important races in the world.
So obviously you're going to be going all through the week?
Oh yes, I've been going from last week already.
Already. So how many hat changes have you had in that period?
Oh, all my hats that I've worn over the years are all in the only museum.
Oh, okay.
The racing museum.
So you have to go back to the racing museum to get them, or
no?
You start a new one.
I just give it to them. It's for them to keep.
Fantastic. So what are you going to be wearing on Cup Day then?
Cup Day, I'm wearing black.
Black?
We begin this evening with an expose of Melbourne Cups from last century, before we welcome the new era in racing sponsorship. Let's have a look, let's see the style, and let's begin with 1929. The race is won by Night March in the year 1929 in a watermarked sharkskin. The year is 1942, the Melbourne Cup and the winner, Collis, trained by F. Manning. In 1942, the new look, the perfect look of very, very smart Dior came to Australia. The name's jacket.
This is a hat to die for.
Hi, how are you?
This is built around you, isn't it?
That's right.
You're going to kill me here. Where have you just been?
We've been to Werribee Cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you thought you'd pop down into the Cup handover, top it off.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a great day and intend to make it a great evening as well.
So you've been wearing this all day?
Yes, since about 11 o'clock.
Heavy?
No, actually, very light.
Oh, okay. So you don't have any back problems or neck problems?
No.
You're supposed to say yes because these lovely gentlemen here are going to give you a massage, so you complain.
Carry her around.
You carry her around. But who carries you around?
Well, we don't know. We're very fit.
Oh, you're very fit.
The back matches too with the peacocks all around.
Okay, turn around. Look at this. We've got little peacock eyes on here. Wow. That is. Who's the designer, by the way?
Myself, Andy. I've designed the hat and made it.
Oh, fantastic! So how many hours have you put into this hat?
Quite a few hours.
I can imagine.
And I'm actually wanting to slightly different variation. Wear it for Melbourne Cup. There's a lot more work to go into it before the Cup on Tuesday.
The year 1952 and the Melbourne Cup winner Del Rey, trained by C. McCarthy, Karen's long sole in cream slaved silk. Perfect in the pinks, highlights as far as the ensemble was concerned. In March of 1952, the film Singing in the Rain is released. The year 1979 and the winner, Polo, trained by Bart Common, is seen on the field. May the 4th, Thatcher is declared the first female Prime Minister of Great Britain. June the 11th, the Duke of John Wayne loses his battle.
Well dressed, very debonair.
Yes.
Pinstripes?
Yes, it was a very last minute outfit, but came together.
So now you were telling me that you're going to Derby Day.
Yes, I've been invited to Derby Day. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Derby Day.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
I've always gone to Oaks Day. I was told Oaks Day is the best day out of the year.
Just there to check out everybody. Yeah. What's so special about Oaks?
Well, they tell me the best ladies go to Oaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
that's why you were there?
That's why I was there, naturally.
It's getting more popular for guys now because they're all going.
Exactly.
Not so much a ladies' day anymore, but a good perv day for guys.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, so you're doing the others this time round?
Yes, it should be quite good actually. I've heard very, very good things about the day on Saturday.
Do you remember any of it? Because obviously the champagne's going to be flowing.
Oh, definitely. Champagne will be flowing. The people I'm going with, it's going to be great.
Again, the trainer Bart Collins, and we're looking at the horse Rogan Josh. Fashions made a big spread, hats become blind. Story is vast as far as fashions looks at Flemington Racecourse. Fashions on the field are all happening yet again, and the style is all there. Melbourne Couturier's own South Yarra is David Bentley. Style just comes together also.
Mr. Stuart Bishop manufactured the cup up in our head office in Brisbane, which is an
Brisbane Cup?
Yes.
For the Melbourne Cup?
Definitely.
What's going on?
Well, we're all one country, aren't we?
Okay,
So
yes,
I think it's
that's
only
true.
fair. But quite exclusive because for many, many years it has always been manufactured in 9 carat, and actually this year's is in 18 carat.
Now, why the change? I noticed that 19 carat to 18 is a big jump.
It is.
Does it just look shinier, or...?
Well, look, it's a much higher carating of gold, but also it adds a significant amount of value. It's valued approximately around $75,000 this year, and this is because we thought it was an appropriate thing to introduce with Tui's being the sponsor of the Cup this year for the Tui's new 2001.
How long does it take to design the cup?
The cup has taken over 150 hours of manual labour, and they say there's over 1 million hammer taps that get involved with it.
So it's not something that's casted, it's tapped to...
No, it's there's approximately 34 pieces that are hand-made, and then it's all assembled and put together by rivets, and quite labour-intensive.
Now, does it change over the years? And obviously tonight we've seen different levels of cups throughout the years. How often does the design change? Every year, or you change a little bit? Or?
No, the cup has traditionally kept the same, and from the early 1900s when it was created as the Loving handle cup, which is the traditional 3-handle cup, it hasn't really deviated from that.
Going to the cup?
Yes, I'll be working there.
Oh, you're working?
Yes.
Oh, poor thing. What are you going to be doing?
I'll be actually polishing the Melbourne Cup for the
Oh, you're
day.
kidding you. I've met the Melbourne Cup polisher.
The trophy girl. I'm the trophy chick.
Look, I got my own little trophy.
I'm the background. I work in the cupboard and I polish and I hand it to the girls.
Do you use Brasso on gold or no? What do you use?
I can't remember. It's in a black can.
Oh, something that comes in a black can.
Yeah.
You seriously got to polish that?
Seriously.
How many? Just 2.
2, 3.
Well, 3 cups.
Yeah, there's a owner, jockey and trainer.
Yeah, and you've got the backup ones just as in case
Yes.
as well.
Yes, and they're all polished as well.
Is it black polish, or are you going to polish that gold off and take it home or something?
Well, that would be giving you secrets.
I know what. I've clued onto it. Now I know why you're polishing the cup, because the security guard that's behind it.
The one with the great hair.
Yeah, drop dead gorgeous security guard, and you're there,
That's
right?
right,
I
that's
clued
it.
on.
Yeah.
You said pick me, I'll do it. Now you've played a key role in tonight. You actually hampered the cup a little bit. You made it.
A key hand in making it, yeah.
So what did you do? Polish it?
No. Helped with the spinning. I did a lot of the work. Basically,
is it a handle with care sort of item when making something, and especially with love, of course?
Love. Don't drop it. No. Dings quite well.
Or wood. Yeah. Okay. So how important is tonight then for you, as in an official handover?
Tonight's big, and it's just getting bigger every year.
Is that because Tui's now the sponsor, or
definitely? Yeah.
What, Foster's just didn't have it, or?
Oh, I'm not going to say that. Foster's did a wonderful job, but Tui's are just making sure they do a hell of a lot better. Yeah.
And you've done better as well by upping the gold content.
Absolutely, yeah.
How long does it take to make?
250 hours.
250 hours.
And
you spent how many hours on it?
Cups, I've done a fair few of those. I'd probably say half of that.
Okay.
Was my involvement.
And you're introducing what are called the mini cups.
Yeah, the mini cups, mini replicas.
Which is something new, because you never did that before. Because obviously, is it the people that won, the horse owners win the cup, and not the jockey, isn't it?
That's right.
So now you're giving the jockey a little mini cup, because they're small anyway. They're quite mini in size.
Previously, the jockey and trainer got a cup.
Okay.
But it was never to that exacting standard.
Which is great.
Yeah.
You've gone overboard.
To present the 2001 Melbourne Cup to the chairman, Mr. Andrew Ramsden.
Gold necklace and bracelet as a suite. The necklace, 82 carat white diamonds.
Girl who polishes the cup, right. Now, the reason that she's polishing the cup is because you're standing with the cup.
Is that right?
Yeah. And she made a comment about your lovely hair, by the way.
I want hair like yours.
You want hair like mine?
Right.
Why? It's mad.
Very nice
I can
hair.
spike it up now if you want to.
No, it's good.
No, I've got some
It's all
gel
good.
out the back.
That's
Yeah, I
all
can
right.
do your hair. I can do your hair for you.
Hairspray.
Is this a tough job, standing around looking after the cup? Because my friend's just stolen one and you haven't noticed it.
In all honesty,
No.
I don't particularly care about the cup. I got $1 million worth of diamonds in my hand.
Diamonds?
That's why I'm here.
This is $1 million in this bag now.
I don't really care about the cup.
You got $1 million in your bag now.
Right now.
Unbelievable.
With 2.82 carat white diamonds, it's valued at $235,000. White diamond, the 18 carat gold half necklace, is valued at $44,859. The pink and white diamond tennis bracelet is a total of 300 points. The total carats of the diamond.
That's a lot.
That's why I'm here.
You should go now, I think.
Soon.
I'm just going to walk around with a couple of $1 million of... Unbelievable.
That's why I'm here.
We're going to get your face on camera and take a good look, because if you disappear, we know who you are.
Yes,
okay?
it's
you.
Bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
Superior suite at the Windsor Hotel.
I really wanted to hold the cup. Oh, well. There goes my chance. I know. Come over here. I'll tell you what I'll do. You see, the jockeys get their own little cup. They get a mini one. Oh, there you go. That weighs. It's for the little strapper. And it's also for the jockey. Bit of weight in there. There you go. I held the Melbourne Cup. Huh?
Can you not pick them up?
I was not
You're not allowed to
picking.
touch
Yeah,
them.
I wasn't touching.
You were.
Nice little necklace too.
Oh, thank you. From Hardy's.
From Hardy's, 1.4 million?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You look $1 million. You are a party animal.
I am a party animal.
You are an animal.
Yeah.
You're wild.
Absolutely.
So here for a great night. I think I'm going home tonight.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help them. Join the Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do. 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "G'day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Do you currently have a community service announcement on free-to-air television? If you do, you can now submit it to us as well via our website at MELfeed.video. We have lots of time to fill on these broadcasts, and we are sure to give your announcement a great run on MELfeed.video.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash, maybe even from heart disease, maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed.video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed.video, we wish you a very good night.
Bye.